So let's move towards the next collection. In the last class, we have discussed about the concept of array. The first collection is called as array. In array, now we have discussed the different types of arrays like one-dimensional, two-dimensional, n-dimensional. So ultimately, you can take any type of array in array family. You can take any type of array. You can see some disadvantages over. Like when you talk about array, the first disadvantage is going to be type safe. There is also one of the advantage, but at the same time, we have identified some disadvantages with type safe nature. What are those disadvantages? See, in case of array, the type of array should be defined in the programming environment at the time of declaration. Whether you want to hold collection of integers, collection of floats, collection of characters, the type should be defined at the time of declaration. Once the type is defined, it is going to be constant. When it comes to runtime, it allows you to store only similar data elements, similar type of elements. If at all you are going to get combination of multiple data types, in that case, can I accommodate those elements into an array? No, it always expects only similar data elements. You cannot store multiple elements of different data types. If you are really aware of the requirement, then you can decide the data type. For example, in one of the scenario, I'm really not sure like what kind of data is going to come from the user. Sometimes he supplies collection of integers, sometimes he supplies collection of floats, sometimes he supplies collection of integers and float, combination of multiple data types. If you are going to get only integer values every time, you can define it as int. If you are going to get only float values, you can define it float. But here we are really not sure about the data that is going to come from third-party source. You can supply any type of data. You can supply integers, you can supply float, you can supply. Each time is going to supply a different type of data. In that case, it will be very difficult to decide your data type in the programming environment. If every time is going to supply that similar type of data, based on that you can decide your data type. If every time the data type is going to be changed, if every time is going to supply a different type of data or combination of multiple data types, in that case, can we decide the data type within the programming environment? No, it's not possible, because if you define it as int, it allows only integer values. If the user supplies full float values, it cannot be accommodated. If you supply character, if you define it as character, it always expects only characters to be supplied. But as I said, in our requirement, our data type is not going to be fixed. Every time you'll be supplying one different type of data. So in that case, it will be very difficult to decide your data type in the programming environment. But in case of array, the data type should be defined in the programming environment. So once it gets defined, that is going to be constant. You cannot store different type of data other than what we have defined as its nature. So this leads to a problem. In this case, you cannot accommodate all scenarios, all real-time scenarios. If you are really aware of the data type, the data which is going to come from the user, then obviously you can define it in the programming environment. When you are not sure about what is going to come from the user, in that case, it will be very difficult to decide your data type. So that is one of the disadvantages. In the second scenario, so what has to be done to accommodate all types of scenarios? Even the type of data should also be defined dynamically at runtime. Basically, what is a good thing of your collection? It is a collection. Whenever you want to hold collection of values. Earlier we used to define those many data members. Now that burden has been reduced. In case of collection, just you need to define a single variable. Inside that variable, inside that common location, you can have a number of sublocations. That is one of the good advantage of collection. But at the same time, we have identified one more disadvantage. What is that? It accepts only similar data elements. You cannot store multiple data elements. To avoid this problem, what has to be done? The type of data should not be defined in the programming environment. Even the type should also be considered dynamic at runtime, but which cannot be possible through your array. In case of array, the type should be defined in the programming environment. That leads to a problem. You cannot accommodate all types of scenarios. But what is our requirement? Your collection should be in a position to accept collection of data elements of multiple data types, any data type. There should not be any restrictions, kind of. So that is what our requirement. If at all you are defining that kind of collection, you can accommodate, you'll be able to accommodate any kind of scenario. Okay, so that is one of the first disadvantage. And second disadvantage is, in case of array, the size of array should be defined. First, the data type should be defined, and size should also be defined within the programming environment. Whether you want to get it from the user, otherwise you want to keep it, whether you want to define within the programming environment, that is up to you. But ultimately, before storing elements into your collection, first that much amount of memory has to be initialized. So that is the reason, whenever you want to store collection of elements into your array, first you need to create those many locations in the memory. It means the size of array should be defined within the programming environment. Whether you want to get this size from the user or you want to define it on your own, whether you want to hard code it or you want to get it dynamical from the user, that is a different case. But ultimately, whenever you want to store any element into your array, first that much amount of memory has to be allocated in the slot. If you want to allocate memory for all your elements, you need to use new keyword. If you want to use new keyword, you should tell the system how many elements to be created in this slot. Right? So when you talk about array, the size of array should also be defined within the programming environment. Once this size gets defined, immediately it creates those many sublocations, and that much amount of memory will be allocated in the system. Let's say in one of the scenario, I define my size as 50. Now what will happen? Immediately it creates 50 locations, and that much amount of memory will be reserved for your collection A. Okay, fine. In one of the scenario, user is going to enter 50 elements. User is going to supply 50 elements. So my array size is 50. So I can easily accommodate those 50 elements into my array. So all my locations will be utilized. In the second scenario, the user is going to supply only 30 elements. The user is going to supply only 30 elements. In this case, what will happen? Those 30 elements will be placed into first 30 locations of your array. But what about remaining 20 locations? What about remaining 20 locations? The 20 locations will be empty. So that much amount of memory is going to be wasted. If you don't utilize all locations of your array, so whatever the location is empty, that will be wasted. In our case, if at all you are storing only 30 elements, in one other scenario you will get 50, in another scenario you will get 30. So that is the reason you define your size as 50, because it should be in a position to accommodate maximum 50 elements. In some of the scenario you will be getting 50 elements, in some of the scenarios you will be receiving only 20 elements, in one of the scenario you will be receiving only 30 elements. But to accommodate that maximum number of elements, your array should have those many number of locations. That is the reason we have defined the size as 50. In first scenario, yes, we are going to get 50 different elements, so there will be no memory wastage because those 50 elements can be accommodated into all your 50 locations. So in this scenario, all your 50 locations will be utilized. In the second scenario, he is going to supply only 20 data elements or 30 data elements. In that case, what will happen? Only 30 locations of your array will be utilized. So what about remaining locations? That amount of memory will be wasted. So it is going to be 20 into some xn. It is going to be 20 into some x. So this much amount of memory will be wasted for each and every user. This is for only one user. This is for only one user. Your variable will be recreated for each and every user. If at all 1 lakh people are accessing your application at a time, Your variable is going to be recreated 1 lakh times. For each variable, 20 into X amount of memory is going to be wasted. Just think about 1 lakh people. It is going to be 1 lakh into 20 into X. So lot of memory wastage will be there. Lot of memory wastage will be there. This leads to a problem because coming to revenue is nothing but, coming to your memory is nothing but revenue to the company, revenue to the client. As a developer, you should save the memory, you should save the revenue as much as possible, wherever it is possible. And if your main memory is full, it will also degrade performance of your application. So there will be a lot of disadvantages, right? So this leads to a problem because if there are any locations left as empty, that memory will not be released immediately in case of array. So that memory will be wasted, right? So what is the first disadvantage? It is a type safe collection. The good thing in type safe is the data will be stored in the original format, so no conversion is required. But the bad thing is it allows only similar type of elements. You cannot store collection of data elements of multiple types. If at all, you need to store different types of data into your collection, which cannot be possible through your array. And second disadvantage is the number of locations to be created inside your array should be defined in the programming environment. The size of your array should be defined in the programming environment. Once you define the size, as soon as you define it, immediately it will go to memory and it creates those many locations and allocates that much of amount of memory for each and every location. Whatever the amount of memory is required for each and every location, immediately that memory will be allocated. If you don't utilize all those locations, if you utilize only 75% of them or 25% or 80% of them, so whatever the remaining percent is left, so that amount of memory is going to be wasted. So there will be a lot of memory wastage in case of array if you don't utilize all locations. If at all you are utilizing all those locations, then fine. Absolutely you can go with array. But if at all you need to accommodate different types of scenarios, and if at all you're going to get different number of elements in each scenario, if each scenario is going to produce different number of elements, so in that case, obviously your array should have maximum number of locations to accommodate all the scenarios. So in that case, obviously, as I said, you're going to get different number of elements in each scenario. So in that case, a lot of memory wastage will be there. In the first scenario, you're going to get only 50. In the second scenario, you're going to 30. In the third scenario, you're going to get only 10. In fourth scenario, you're going to get 40. So in that case, if at all you're not filling all your locations, so a lot of memory wastage will be there. So this is the second disadvantage. Any questions, guys, so far? Okay. So to overcome these problems, so what Microsoft has done, they have introduced another powerful collection that is called ArrayList. When you talk about ArrayList is one of the implementation of linked list, single linked list. It's not a single linked list. This has been implemented based on the concept of single linked list. Same thing in C++. Arrays will be there everywhere in every language. We also have seen arrays in C++. In C also, you will see the same disadvantage with array. There also, you will have to define the type of data that is going to be stored into your array. You should also define number of locations to be created within the programming environment. So there also, you will see same disadvantages with your array. In C, C++, Java, everywhere, the disadvantages are going to be same. Everywhere you will have to define the type of array in the programming environment and the size of array. In C, C++, to overcome these problems, we used to use linked list concept, like single linked list, double linked list, circle linked list, right? So here also same thing goes. To overcome the disadvantages of array, then your approach should be towards another powerful collection that is called ArrayList. When you talk about ArrayList is one of the linked list implementation. I mean, it has been implemented based on the concept of single linked list. When you talk about array list, you don't have to define any type in the programming environment. It allows you to store any type of data, collection of elements of different data types. There are no restrictions on the type of the data. You can store collection of data elements of multiple types. You don't even have to define any data type. That is the first advantage. And second advantage, you don't even have to specify any size. You don't have to specify any size. You can store a number of elements. There is no limitation. Whenever you insert first location, first element, immediately it creates that location dynamically at runtime, and that much of amount of memory will be allocated dynamically at runtime, and your element will be accommodated into the respective location. Whenever you enter second element, then only the second location will be created. The number of locations will also be created dynamically at runtime. You don't have to specify any size. As you keep on increasing number of elements, and number of locations would also be generated dynamically at runtime. You don't have to specify any size. There is no limitation for end element. You can keep on adding a number of elements. The moment when you add the element, then only the location will be generated. So a number of locations would also be generated dynamically at runtime. Okay, so the first advantage of array list is it is not a type-safe collection. You don't have to define any type of the data in the programming environment. It allows you to store any type of data and collection of data elements of different data types. The combination of different data types can also be possible. Second thing is you don't have to define any size. The moment when you enter an element, then only the location will be generated. So location would also be generated dynamically at runtime. So there will be no memory wastage. If you enter 5 elements, there will be only 5 locations. If you enter 20 elements, there will be only 20 locations. So there will be no memory wastage. In the first scenario, if you are going to get 50 locations, so if you use array list, there will be only 50 locations will be generated. In the second scenario, I'm going to get 20 locations, 20 elements. If you use array list, there will be only 20 locations. So you can accommodate n number of elements. Your number of locations would also be generated dynamically at runtime. So there will be no memory wastage. So whatever the disadvantage that we have identified in array, so those disadvantages can be overcome by using another powerful concept is called array list. Any questions, guys, so far? Okay, so let's see. Yeah. So how to read elements into your array list and how to pull elements from your array list. We got a base class library called system.collections.dll. So as we have already discussed one of the base class library, that is system.dll. We got one more base class library that is called system.collections.dll. It comes with set of namespaces. One of them is system.collections namespace. When you talk about system.collections.dll, it is a base class library which comes with set of namespaces. One of them is system.collections namespace. When you talk about system.collections namespace, it comes with set of classes. It comes with set of classes. One of them is array list. Array list. When you talk about array list is a class. So when you talk about a class, as we discussed in the beginning session, what is a class? Class is also a kind of container. It is a user-defined data type where you can place, where you can group set of data members and member functions, your methods. So later we'll see more about classes when we discuss the concept of class. But as of now, just do remember that array list is a class. When you talk about a class, class will have collection of methods and variables. So when you talk about array list class, array list comes with set of methods. Some of them are add, remove, and count. Add, remove, and count. When you talk about add, whenever you want to insert a new element into your array list, that element of type anything, you can insert any type of element. As I said, it is not a type safe. Whenever you want to insert any type of element into your collection, array list collection, then you have to call add method. This will take care of adding a new element into your array list. If you want to remove an existing element, then you have to use remove method. If you want to know the size of your collection, like I would like to know how many elements are there in my collection, then you have to call count, which is nothing but length property of your array. Okay, so let's see how to define your array list and how to store collection of elements into your array list. So as I said, when you talk about an array list is a class which contains set of methods. When you talk about the nature of class, whenever you want to access any method of a class, then you will have to define the instance of the class. First, you will have to define the instance of the class. I mean, you have to create, whenever you want to access any property of a class, first that class has to be instantiated. I mean, you should create object of that class. So later we'll see what is instance, what is class. Okay. Now, go to your programming environment. So make sure that respective DLL is imported in your programming environment. What is that? Using, just verify the existing imported namespace. If at all yours is not listed in this, then go ahead and get it imported into your programming environment using system.collections. Now I'm going to define an array list. As I said, when you talk about an array list is a class. So in order to call any property of your array list class, first the object of array list has to be created. Instance of array list has to be created. How to create this? Class name array list. Some object name, you can give any name. Let's say movies is equal to new array list. Class name, object name is equal to new class name. So as I said, now my collection is ready. Now I can insert n number of elements. I can keep on adding n number of elements. There is no limitation. N number of elements and any type of elements. How to add them? Whenever you want to insert a new element into your collection, you have to call add method. So what is your object name? Movies. Object name dot add of. See. Here you can add any type of element. 1. Movies dot add of some ABC. Movies dot add of 12.3. C. Is it throwing any error? No. I'm able to add integers. I'm able to add characters, strings. I'm able to add floating values. So basically, the beauty of this collection is you can store n number of elements and any type of elements. It allows you to store combination of multiple elements of different data types. And the second thing, did we define any size over here? No. As I said, this is one of the linked list implementation. In linked list, number of nodes will be generated dynamically on the fly. Here also same thing happens. You don't have to define your size. Whenever you insert the first element, then only the first location will be created. The moment when you insert second element, then only it creates second location. So number of locations could also be generated dynamically at runtime. The moment when you try to insert a new element, then only it will calculate the size and generates a new location and appends it into the existing one. So that function will be automatically taken care by your array list, right? So your that burden will be reduced because here you don't have to specify any data type and you don't have to specify any size of your collection. Okay, but at the same time, there is one disadvantage. What is that? It allows you to store any type of element. It is not a type safe collection. As I said, when you talk about array list is not a type safe collection. What is meant by type safe? Array is a type safe. What is meant by type safe? So in case of array, the type of data should be defined at the time of declaration. Once you define the type, it allows you to store only that similar data elements. In case of array, if you define your array as int, internally data will not be converted into any other format. Data will be stored in the original format. If you define your array as int, all your elements of your array will be stored in the integer format. So whenever you try to pull that element, no conversion is required because since it has been stored in the integer format, so you can directly pick it and use it in your further process. But when you talk about array list is not a type safe collection. It allows you to store any type of data, but internally the data will not be stored in the original format. Internally the data will be converted into object format. You can store any type of data, whether integer, character, float or anything, but each and every element, each and every data will be converted into object type and your data will be stored in the form of object. So again, when you try to pull your data, so what will happen? It returns an object. Your data is going to come in the form of an object. So in order to use it in further process, so what has to be done? Again, it has to be converted explicitly into respective data type. For example, I have stored integer. Now what will happen internally? It converts integer into object type. It converts integer into object type. So my data is going to be stored in the form of object. If at all you need to use this value in further process, so what has to be done? You have to pull it from your collection. When you try to pull it from your collection, so what will happen? Your one will not be written in the form of an integer. Since it has been stored in the form of a object, so it is going to come in the form of an object. If you use it directly in the process, it throws the error. So that's why again it has to be converted back to original data type. So first it has to be converted from integer to object. Your integer is a value type, object is a reference type. Integer is a value type, object is a reference type. So first what has to be done? Your value type has to be converted into reference type. Again, when you try to pull it back, reference type has to be converted into value type. Your object has to be converted into integer type. So these concepts are also called as boxing and unboxing. This is very, very important. Many people will ask you this question, boxing and unboxing. What is boxing and what is unboxing? In case of array list, the boxing and unboxing will take place. What is boxing? Boxing is the process of converting value type into reference type. And unboxing is called a reverse process. It is a process of converting a reference type into value type. In case of array list, what will happen? It allows you to store any type of data. You can store any type of data, but internally your original data type will be converted into object type. Object is one of reference data type, and integer, character, string, all these are called as value data types. Except to string, all data types are called as value data types except string. String and object, these two are called as reference data types. So I'm going to store an integer. What is the type of integer? It is a value type. Internally, value type is not a data type. Internally, it will be considered as value type. In the beginning, we have discussed the concept of value type and reference type, stack and heap memory, right? So which data type comes under value type and which comes under reference type? So only string and object comes under reference type, except these two, remaining all other data types comes under value type. So when you talk about an integer is a value type. When you store integer into your array list, what will happen? Internally, it will be converted into object type. What is object type? Object is a reference type. So whenever you store any element, internally it will be converted into a reference type. So the process of converting value type into reference type is called as boxing. And now my data has been stored in the form of a reference type in the object type. So when you try to pull it, it returns an object. So my data is going to come in the form of an object. So if I want to make use of that in further process, so what has to be done? So that object has to be converted into original type, that is integer. So again, first integer is going to be converted into object type. Again, when you pull it back into your process, what has to be done? That object type has to be converted into original data type. What is the original data type? Integer. So object type has to be converted into integer type. Object type is a reference type. Integer is a value type. So again, reference type has to be converted into value type. That reverse process is called as unboxing. So in case of array list, so a lot of conversions will take place internally. When you store any element into your array list, boxing will take place. Again, when you try to pull it from your array list, unboxing will come into the picture. So a lot of conversions will be done. Sometimes that might degrade performance of your application because your type is not going to be safe over. Your original type will be converted into some other type. That's why we are calling it as a non-type safe collection. In case of array is a type safe collection. Data will be stored in the original data type format. So no conversion is required over. But here, data is going to be converted into some other different type. That's why conversion is required over. Okay, so this is one of the disadvantages of array list. We have seen so many advantages. What are those? You don't have to define any data type, and even you don't have to define any size. These are the best advantages of array list. But at the same time, we have seen one disadvantage. What is that? So boxing and unboxing will take place in case of array list. So sometimes you might need to spend some amount of time to perform these two operations, box and unboxing. So that might degrade performance of your application. If at all you're going to store some millions of elements, so in that case, if all millions of elements are going to be used in your process, for each and every element you'll have to perform both boxing and unboxing. So that might take a lot of time than expected. So in that scenario, you may see poor performance over. So that might degrade performance of your application. So that is the reason. So based on your situation and scenario, you'll have to decide so which collection has to be used. Okay. So any questions, guys, so far? Priyanka. Okay. So let's try to implement a single example, okay, to demonstrate this array list. So I don't want to hardcode these values. I want this to be taken dynamically at runtime. So ask user to enter these elements. You don't have to ask him to enter the size. If you want, you can, but that can be taken dynamically. Now tell me, how do you write your loop? Because in the case of array, there we have defined a fixed size. That's why we used to repeat our loop only those many number of times. But here, this is array list. There is no end limit. You can just define only starting point, but there is no end limit, right? User can keep on adding n number of elements, right? So that's why in this case, you'll have to structure your loop logically, like how to do it. I'm going to, rather than defining an end limit, I'm going to define a choice. I'm going to define a choice. Get the choice from the user. Boss, do you want to add one more element? Yes or no? If he say yes, repeat your loop one more time. Again ask him, do you want to enter one more element? If he yes, repeat your loop. So here your loop has to be repeated till the choice is yes. Once he say no, then come out of your loop. So here you'll have to write your logic, based on some logical things. So how to write it? So I'm just going to take a choice instead of end limit, string some choice. Initially, I'm going to set it to y. While choice is equal to yes. Okay, if the choice is equal to yes, then ask him to enter one more element. Console dot write line. Please enter a movie name and read that movie name, add it into your array list. So I'm going to define another variable to read that movie name. Let's say string movie name. Movie name. So ask user to enter the movie name. So once you enter that, read that movie name into movie name variable. Movie name is equal to console dot readline. Conversion is not required because it is a string. Yes, he has entered the element. Now what has to be done? This element has to be added to your collection. So whenever you want to insert a new item into your collection, then you need to call add method of your array list. What is your array list name? Movies. Movies dot add of what has to be added? Movie name. That's it. Now you'll have to get the choice from the user. Boss, do you want to add one more movie? Right? Because in case of array list, there will be no end limit. You cannot decide the end limit. So that is the reason every time we are taking the choice from the user. Do you want to add one more? Do you want to add one more? Right? So keep repeating your loop till the choice is yes. Until he says no. Once he says no, then just come out of from your loop. So console dot write line. Do you want to add one more movie? Tell me what needs to be entered. Y or no? So obviously once you see this message, you will enter either Y or N. So read that choice. Choice is equal to console dot read line. Read that choice. Right? So once the first element is added, it will ask user to enter the choice. Read that choice. If you say yes, choice is going to be yes. Again it checks the condition. If choice is equal to yes, again it will go inside of your loop. It will ask user to enter one more item and that will be added to your collection. Again it will ask user to enter the choice. If you say no, now what will happen? Choice is going to have N. It will check the condition. Is choice is equal to Y? No, condition is false. It will just come out of the loop. Okay, so based on is choice, you need to keep adding a number of elements. Okay, let's see this. Just keep a breakpoint over. Oh, too many. Okay, now see, till now my collection is empty. Now we are going to create a new collection. Where are we? Sorry, I pressed F5. Please enter a movie name. Let's say Spider-Man. Do you want to add one more movie? Yes. See, go to your collection. Just pin the C. We have entered only one element. See, you can see only one location. You can see only one location. See. Next, we are going to enter second element. Please enter the movie name. See, now till now there is only one location. Now we are going to insert this item into the collection. So the moment when you call add method, then only the location will be created dynamically at runtime, right? So once you call add method, so add method will take care of creating only one location at a time. So once you call add method, what it will do first, it creates a location and this value will be inserted into that location. So if you insert only two elements, there will be only two locations. Now see, second location has created. So there will be no memory wastage. If you read only 5 elements, it creates only 5 locations. Do you want to add one more movie? Yes. As long as you say yes, it keeps adding a number of elements. You can keep on adding n number of elements. There is no limitation. Yes. See. So once you say no, it will just come out of the loop. Okay. Any questions, guys, so far? Okay. Now let's see how to print. Now we have seen how to read elements into your collection. Let's see how to print elements of your collection. Console.write line. Movies list. Okay, so here we have two options. Now what has to be done in order to pull all elements of your collection? You need to navigate between all the locations of your collection. So the common point between array and array list is, when you talk about array, when it comes to internal structure of array, all elements of array will be stored based on index. All elements of array will be stored based on index. I mean, always the first element starts from 0. I mean, the first element will be located at 0th index, second one will be located at first index, and last one will be located at n-1th index, right? So whenever you want to pull any particular element from your array, you will have to supply that respective index, because in array all elements will be stored based on index. In case of array list also, the data will be stored based on index. I mean, always the first element will be available at 0th position and the last element will be available at n-1th position. Let's say if at all your collection size is 5. So where will be the first location? The first location will be available at 0th position and the last one will be available at n-1 4th index. So the internal structure is going to be same as array. In case of array list also, the data will be stored based on index. Whenever you insert first element into your array list collection, it generates first location and it assigns some address that is going to be 0. When you add second location, it allocates 1th index. When you add third location, it allocates next index. Okay, so all indexes will be generated in the sequence order. So the first index is going to start from 0 and last one is going to be n-1. So here, whenever you want to pull elements from your array list, here you can use two different loops. If you are really aware of the size of your collection, if you want to pull it using index, go with for loop. If you don't want to pull your items using index, if you want to pull them using without index, then you can go with alternate option called for each. For each is also one of the implementation of for. Internally, it will also make use of for, but which will reduce some burden on the developer. It will reduce some complexity at the programming level. So let's see both the options. First, let's try to pull all your collection elements using for loop. For int I is equal to 0, As I said, the internal representation of array list is also going to be same as your array. Always the first element will be stored at 0th indexation because the data will be stored based on index. So the first location will be located at 0th index. And how many times it has to be repeated? So as I said, if you want to know the size of your collection, you will have to call count method, which is nothing but length of your array. Count gives you size of the collection. It will tell you how many elements are there in your collection. Now how many times my loop has to be repeated? These many times. So here I is less than, what is your collection name? Movie names dot count. And I plus plus. Movie names or movie name? Movies. What is the collection name? Movies. Movies dot count. I plus plus. Console dot write line movies of I. Okay, let us assume that there are 5 elements in your collection. So what will happen? The first element will be available at 0th position and the count is going to return as 5. So it will be repeated 5 times. Every time it pulls one different element from your collection. Please enter a movie name. Yes. Yes. No. See, movies list: Spider-Man, Iron Man, Titanic. So if you want them to be displayed in the same line, just use write in place of write line. Okay, this is one approach. Another approach is, if you don't want to use index to pull your items, if you want to pull them without index, yes, you can go with alternative option that is called for each. For each. How to use for each? When you talk about for each is applicable if and only if the collection is having similar data elements. For example, in our case, we are storing only movie names. What is the type of movie name? String. So all elements are going to be of type same. For each, you have to specify the type of the elements. What is the type of the elements? String, some S movie. In collection name, what is the collection name? Movies. That's it. You don't have to specify any starting point, end point, and variation. In case of for, you should specify where to start, where to end, what is the variation between each iteration. But in case of for each, you don't have to specify those 3 parts, where to start, where to end. All you need to do here is, you just need to specify only the type of the element which has been stored in your collection. What is the type of our element? It is a string. String, some variable name in collection name. That's it. So it will automatically calculate the size, start point, variation, everything. Every time it picks one different element. First it will go to first location, picks that element, then it will go to second location. In the same way, it will go to all your locations of your collection and picks all the elements one by one. You just need to print to this element. That's it. Console dot write S movie. That's it. Please enter a movie name. Let's say AAA. Yes. Some BBP. Yes. Some CC. No. C. So that is the difference between for and for loop. So for each can be applicable if and only if your collection is having similar data elements, because Once you define this data type, it always looks for only that similar data type. If there is any other different data type is identified, then it throws the error. It doesn't work properly. Okay, so if at all you are storing similar data elements in your collection, in that case better go ahead and make use of for each, because that will reduce a lot of development effort, and complexity will also be reduced, because here you don't have to define where to start, where to end, so you don't have to worry about that. But here obviously you need to define all the three parts. So based on your requirement, so as a developer you'll have to decide whether for each or for has to be used. Any questions, guys? So there will be many scenarios, like if at all you need to write some logic based on index of the element. So in that case also you cannot use for each, you can use for. So if at all you need to write some complex logic inside your loop, so don't go with for each. If at all you are just going to print the element, then for each is the better option. If at all you are going to perform some logic inside the loop, then for each is not the best option. There you'll have to use only for loop. Okay. So this is something about your array list. This is very, very important question. Many interviews will ask this question. What is the difference between array and array list? What is the difference between array and array list? Now tell me two differences. What is the first difference? Array is a type safe collection. In case of array, the type of data should be defined at the time of beginning, at the time of declaration. Once the type is defined, it allows you to store only similar data elements. You cannot store multiple data elements of different data types. And your data will be stored in the original format, so no conversion is required. No boxing and unboxing is required. Coming to array list. Array list is not a type safe collection. This is one of the linked list implementation. It allows you to store any type of data. You can store collection of elements of different data types. But it is not a type safe collection. I mean, your data, you can enter any type of data, but internally it will be converted into object type. So your type will not be stored in the original format. Internally it will be converted into object type. So boxing and unboxing will take place. Conversion will come into the picture when you insert any item into the collection or when you try to pull any item from the collection. So whenever you insert new item into the collection, your value type has to be converted into object. So that process is called as boxing. And when you try to pull it from the collection, unboxing has to be performed. So that might degrade performance of your application. And second difference, in case of array, the size of array should be defined in the programming environment. Once you define the size, those many locations will be created immediately. And if you don't utilize all those locations, a lot of memory wastage will be there. But in case of array list, this is one of the linked list implementation where you don't have to define the size of collection. Number of locations would also be generated dynamically at runtime. So there will be no memory wastage. These are the two main differences between array and array list. Any questions, guys, so far?
Ravinder Garu, in the for loop, it is I less than movies.com. So I value should be less than total number of movies.
Yeah, obviously. So as I said, coming to array list, internally data will be stored based on index, right? Let's say we have stored 5 different elements. The first element will be available at 0th position. Second will be available at 2nd position, right?
Yeah.
It follows array structure. Let's say first element will be there at 0th index. Second element will be there at first index. Second, third, and last element, 5th element will be there at 4th index, right? Now, if you are going to pull data elements from your collection, so where I need to start? I should start from first location, right? First I have to pull first element, then second, then third, then fourth, then fifth. So ultimately you'll have to start from first location. Where is that first location is located? The first location is located at 0th position. That's why. So every time you have to go to your collection and pull the element, right? So this process has to be repeated 5 different times to pull 5 different elements. So that is the reason I'm going to choose a loop. I want to write that action only once, and that has to be repeated 5 different times, right? So what is my action here? Printing elements of your collection. Every time it has to print one different element. That's why I would like to write my action inside the loop. So whenever you want to write the loop, you need to define 3 parts. What are those? Where to start and where to end. What is the variation between each iteration? In our case, where to start, you should start from first location, which is available at 0th index. That's why I'm going to start from 0, right? My loop is going to start from 0 because first you have to go to 0th index, 0th location. Next you have to go to first location, then second, then third, then fourth. What is the variation between each iteration? It is 1, right? From here to here the difference is 1. From here to here the difference is 1. So every time it has to be incremented with 1 to push it forward to next location, right?
Yeah.
So that's why my value is getting incremented with 1. So we have defined where to start and what is the variation between each iteration. And next part is where to end. How many times your loop has to be repeated. Now I is going to be 0, right? Next time I will become 1, next 2, next 3, next 4. So when that process has to be stopped, so once it reaches the end limit, once it reaches the end limit, right? So where is the end limit? How do you know that? Because it is a array list, right? It can have a number of locations. In case of array, we will be defining the size in the beginning. That's why based on that we can just repeat the loop. But in case of array list, let's say if at all you are going to get array list from third party, they just given you one array list and they ask you to use those elements in your process. In that case, how do you know the size of your array list? How do you know how many elements are there in the third party array list? So every array list comes with a property called count. This will give you the size of your collection. It will tell you how many elements are there. Let's say if I tell you stored 5 elements in the array list, this count is going to return 5. So how many times your loop has to be repeated? In order to pull all elements from your array list, you have to repeat it 5 different times, right? So now in our case, this is going to return 5. So this has to be repeated up to I is less than 5. So once I becomes 5, it should be repeated up to only 4 because it is starting from 0, not from 1. The end limit always is going to be n minus 1. So once it reaches 5, this condition is going to be false. It will just come out of the loop. అర్థమైందా? వెరీ గుడ్, వెరీ గుడ్. సో అడగాలి, క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగాలి. క్వశ్చన్స్ అడిగితేనే మనకు క్లియర్ తెలుస్తుంది. ఓకే, ఇది అల్టిమేట్ గా ప్రోగ్రామింగ్. ఒకటేంటంటే నేను చెప్పేది, నేను ఫ్రాంక్ గా చెప్తున్నాను ప్రియాంక గారు, షైగా ఫీల్ అవ్వద్దు. అల్టిమేట్ గా ఏంటంటే ఇక్కడ ఉన్న వాళ్ళందరూ బిగినింగ్ లెవెల్ లోనే ఉన్నారు, రైట్? సో వీ కేమ్ హియర్ టు లెర్న్ సంథింగ్, రైట్? So if you keep shooting n number of questions, then only you'll get to know more about it. Okay, so మనం చెప్తున్నాడు కానీ వినుకుంటే వెళ్ళాం అనుకోండి, ఏం రాదు. సో అల్టిమేట్ గా నీ ఉన్నది చెప్పడానికి, సో మీరు అల్టిమేట్ మీరు టైం స్పెండ్ చేసేది న్యూ థింగ్స్ నేర్చుకోవడానికి. సో అల్టిమేట్ ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద డే ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ రాయడం రావాలి. అలా వస్తేనే మీరు వేరే వాళ్ళ మీద డిపెండ్ అవ్వరు. నేను చెప్తున్నాను కానీ ఈవెన్ 20 years ఎక్స్పర్ట్ తీసుకున్నా కూడా 80% ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్ కి పర్ఫెక్ట్ గా లాజిక్ రాయడం రాదు. ఎందుకంటే బేసిక్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ పార్ట్ వాళ్ళు స్ట్రాంగ్ ఉండరు. సో అల్టిమేట్ గా ఏవైతే ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ బేసిక్స్ ఉంటాయో, సో ఇఫ్ యూ లెర్న్ ఆల్ దోస్ థింగ్స్, ఐఎమ్ షూర్ యూ విల్ బికమ్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్. బికాస్ ఎందుకంటే మీరు చూడండి, ఈవెన్ రియల్ టైమ్ లో కూడా ఒక్కొక్క డెవలపర్ ఒక్కొక్క స్టైల్లో రాస్తాడు లాజిక్. ఒక సినారియో ఇస్తే 100 lines లో రాస్తాడు, అది ఇంకో డెవలపర్ అదే సినారియోని 10 lines లో ఫినిష్ చేస్తాడు. డిఫరెన్స్ ఏంటి? అవేర్నెస్ మెయిన్ గా. ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, ఇక్కడ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఇక్కడ ఫర్ చూపించాను, ఫర్ ఈచ్ చూపించాను. ఎలిమెంట్స్ పుల్ చేయమంటే నువ్వు ఫర్ యూజ్ చేయొచ్చు, ఇంకోరు ఫర్ ఈచ్ యూజ్ చేయొచ్చు. ఇప్పుడు అల్టిమేట్ గా కాంప్లెక్సిటీ దేంట్లో ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది? ఫస్ట్ దాంట్లో ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది. అండ్ అల్టిమేట్ గా యూ షుడ్ బి ఇన్ ఏ పొజిషన్ టు డిసైడ్ దట్ విచ్ హ్యాస్ టు బి యూజ్డ్. ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు సీ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ ఇన్ దట్ పొజిషన్, యూ నీడ్ టు బి అవేర్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ దీస్ థింగ్స్. Right? So that's what I'm telling you. So as a developer, you should be aware of each and every piece of your programming language. Okay, so very good. I really appreciate that. Okay, so you should keep on asking. I'm expecting so many questions from you going forward. Yeah, go ahead, Arvind.
Yeah, thing is like right now we went through this movie names. So when we declare a movie collection, so some type of data type, integer type. So if we write a logic where while collections or something, we read the collection values, and once if the values are greater than some value, just print the movie and the collection. You got my point. Will it be possible if we write
like movie collection in a sense? Let's say in this collection I'm going to store 100 different movies,
yeah.
right? Let us assume that we have stored a collection of 100 movies.
The value, integer value, like the revenue, I'm saying, in the sense revenue.
In that case, see, you can add only one item at a time into the collection, but that item can be anything. The item can be a string, the item can be an integer, the item can be an object, the item can be a complete class, a complete collection, right?
So once we can, if we can write a condition, like if
you can write anything.
We write a movie, then next time we need to enter the value, I mean the revenue of the movie, not
So-
that next movie, and
Right.
then
Right.
reading in,
Right.
in that way.
You can do anything in the programming language, right? So now whatever you're asking, that can be implemented in different ways. The first way, now I will tell you, right? Since you are not aware of the classes, but once you learn the classes concept, at that time again we'll be implementing ArrayList with classes. Okay, that time you will see some other implementation, but at this point of time, I will tell you first approach. Now you want to add more than one value as a single item into your collection, right?
Yes.
As of now, you're inserting only movie name, but I'd like to add something like a complete employee detail, let's say. I mean, employee number, employee name, salary, or anything.
Yeah, anything like that, more than one.
See,
More than
yeah,
one.
let's say movie name, right? And show timings, and the amount that which we have collected for this particular show. Okay, and hero name. So this is a complete record, right? This is called a record. A record is nothing but collection of fields, right? Now I would like to add this complete entry as a single element into my collection, right? This is what you are asking, right? It can be possible. Let's say here, rather than asking user to enter only movie name, ask him to enter the collection also. I am going to define one more variable, string revenue. You want to capture the revenue of each and every show, right? Let's say if you are going to play 4 different shows, each show will collect some amount, right? Some particular amount. Each show will collect some amount of money.
Yeah.
I'd like to consolidate the 4 shows amount and add it as a entry. So in this case,
Yeah.
ask him to enter movie name as well as the amount collected for that particular day. Console.writeLine. Please enter the total amount collected. Read it into revenue. Revenue is equal to, that's why logic will come into the picture. That's why I'm telling you. The concept will remain the same, but you can modify it according to your requirement. Revenue is equal to console.readLine. Now what has to be done? While inserting this element, your movie name has to be concatenated with your revenue. Just give space, space or comma, space or comma, any delimiter, I'm giving comma, any delimiter, this revenue. So like this, you can keep concatenating a number of things. Now what will happen? This complete thing will be inserted as a single element.
Yes, yes.
Right? Now coming to your logic. Yeah, coming to your logic. Now you want to print a particular movie name based on the revenue. Let's say if the revenue has got exceeded 20,000 for this day, only I would like to see only movie list, which has collected more than 20,000. I want to see the list of movie names which has collected more than 20,000 for this particular day, right? You want to write a condition like that, right? You want to check some revenue, the amount collected for that particular day, and based on that you want to decide like which movie has to be displayed, which has to be not to be displayed. So you want to do some process. Yes. How do you do that? Every time it will, pick a particular element from your collection, right? Here you have to decide. This is going to have two elements, movie name and revenue. So define an array string some movie amount or revenue, anything. Once you pick that element, movie revenue is equal to, what is that element? S movie dot split off. Every string comes with a predefined built-in method called split, right? Now we have separated them using comma. If you split this string with comma, what will happen? You will get two values. The first value is going to be movie, second value is going to be revenue. So I'm going to split this using comma. Now what will happen? It will split each element with the comma. So each element is going to give you two different values. The first value will have movie name, second value will have a revenue. Now if you use split function, it will split your string with comma, and all those values will be stored into one of the temporary array. That array is going to store into your movie revenue. Now your movie revenue is going to have two locations, right? Because here we have two values. If you split this, it will generate an array with two locations. First location will have movie name and second location will have a revenue, right? Now if convert to dot 2 into 32 of, because my revenue has been stored in the form of a string, that's why I'm just converting it into integer. Movie revenue of 1. Why I'm writing it as 1? This array contains two values, two locations. The first location will have movie name, second location will have the revenue, right? So now I want to check the revenue. I want to validate the revenue. That's why I'm taking it as revenue of 1. If you say movie revenue of 0, you will get movie name. If you say the index 1, it will give you the amount. Is greater than 20,000, then that movie name has to be displayed. Which has collected more than 20k grass, right? Let's debug and see this. Okay, please enter a movie name, Spider-Man. Please enter the total amount collected. It has collected 56,000 for this day. Do you want to add one more? Yes. Iron Man. It has collected only 12,000. Yes. Some Janata Garage. Amount collected. It has collected 70,000-80,000. Yes. Some ABC. It has collected only 23,000. Some SSS. Yeah, do you want to add one more? Yes. Some SSS. It has collected only 12,000. Yes. Some DDD. It has collected only 6,000. Right? No, I don't want to add any more. Now see. It has picked the first element. What is that? Spider-Man, 56,000. Right? Now the complete record is coming in the form of a string. But internally, all the fields are segregated with comma. right? So in order to pick the value of particular field, so what has to be done? So again, the complete string has to be split based on that separator. So what is the separator here? Comma. Now what I'm doing, I'm just splitting that string with comma. If there are 100 values, so what will happen? If you use split function, it will generate an array with 100 different locations, and it will try to keep each value inside one location. So since our string is having only 2 values, that's why if you split this string using split function, what it will do? It will create an array with 2 locations. It keeps first value in the first location and second value in the second location. Now we are storing total. Finally, this split is going to return an array with this many values. I'm just storing that array into one of our local variable, that is movie array, movie revenue. Now this movie revenue will have 2 locations. Let's do that. .divest. See, it will have 2 locations. The first location will have movie name, second location will have this. Okay. Now we are just checking the first one, if it is greater than 20,000 or not. If it is greater than 20,000, this will be printed, otherwise it will not be printed. Here you can see movies which has collected more than 20k. Spider-Man 56,000, Janta Garage 78,000, ABC 23,000. You can see only that list. This is what you are looking for, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, that's why I told you. Always built-in object comes with a limited number of features, right? So ultimately, you will have to make use of those things, and top of that, add your own logic to accommodate your scenario. So when it comes to real-time applications, you may need to write logics like this.
Okay. And about split function, I can use anything, right?
Yes.
Here
It can be. Here you just need to specify. You just need to specify how it has to be split. Whether you want to split it using comma, hash. So you'll have to specify that separator, the delimiter.
Okay. So in this also I need to mention, right? Here on 28th line, movies.add movie name plus it's a general statement.
You can write you can concatenate n number of strings. There is no limitation.
Using any subsplit function.
Let's say, here you can use, if you want, hash. You can use any separator, but here, that's respective separator has to be specified. See.
Okay, the same thing. Whatever we use it here, we need to specify here.
Yes.
That's it.
So if you want, you can test it.
Okay.
See, please enter a moon. Let's say 23,000. BBB, some 12,000. CCC, 56,000. See. Okay.
I got it. Yeah.
So ultimately, so whenever you want to, send multiple values using a string, so you'll have to split them using some separator. They have to use some, kind of, terminator. Like, for example, in most of the applications, in the legacy applications, you'll be getting data. Basically, if you take JSON, what is a JSON? The complete data, the complete record will be written as a string using some delimiters. In JSON, you will find a string like this, employee ID, right? 1. Employee name, AA. So this is called JSON string, right? So how do you split it? This has to be splitted using comma, right? Up to here, this is one field. Up to here, this is another field. So the JSON string will be coming like this. So if you want to send multiple values, in a string format. So each value has to be separated using some delimiter. So that delimiter will be useful again while distracting them into original format. First you'll have to construct them using some delimiter. So while distracting them, how do you distract it? Again, that same delimiter has to be used. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
So
And one more thing, this feature is not available in arrays. Splitting.
it is a string feature. It is not a array list. It is not specific to array list. What is this?
If we use strings in arrays, then is it possible to...
Wherever you are using array, there.
Okay.
So because this is the feature of string.
Okay.
Okay, wherever you define any variable as string, all features of strings will be available over.
Okay.
Okay, because this is feature of string. Any string can be split. Where it is array list, it can be anything. If at all you are going to use string, yes, all those functionalities will be available over.